So hello everyone, and as Julia said, I'm Henrietta Forson and I'm a consultant at Thorogood. And in my session with you today, I'm going to be talking about Microsoft's mobile capabilities, and this is comprised of Power BI and DataZen. And in the same way as we did in Julia's session, we'll also have some demonstrations, and again, I'll be helped by our colleague Pravartika Ratanakurma. So customers are asking a lot of questions about Microsoft and Microsoft BI, and Microsoft Mobile and what's going on, and specifically, why is Microsoft BI so confusing at the moment? And I'd say the simple answer to this is that Microsoft is huge and has been for years. It's got a vast range of products and they're evolving over time, and some have been there for a while. And it's understandable that customers don't necessarily know which products are for them and which way to turn and sort of what fits together. And Microsoft have realised this, and as Trevor was saying in his session, there's been some senior management changes, and we've now got someone really in charge of the Microsoft BI, and they have a strategy to really target technology for customers and target for themselves on what customers want. And people are also hearing about Power BI and DataZen, wondering what they are, and wondering what's available on Microsoft for mobile devices. And as you can probably tell from this presentation, the first question is the answer to the second. Power BI and DataZen are Microsoft's answer to mobile. And Power BI is something that Microsoft have developed themselves in-house, and it's in preview mode at the moment, which I'm going to be showing you later. And DataZen is a recent acquisition by Microsoft, so as Andy mentioned. And we'll be looking at both of these later on. So we first just take a step back and think about Microsoft and their mobile situation 1 year ago. And on the left-hand side of the screen here, you can see Microsoft's share of operating systems on desktop devices a year ago, and that's 90%. Hardly surprising. Microsoft is a ubiquitous software vendor and has been for many, many years, and their presence in desktop is not really surprising. But desktop devices are definitely no longer the only place where you use information. We've got a new world of tablets and phablets and smartphones and you name it, and most of these actually don't run on Windows devices. And if you take all of these into consideration, Microsoft's share of operating systems is just 14% across the range of devices. And as Dan Fromer from Quartz, an online business magazine, said 1 year ago, that Microsoft is now the underdog, and to survive this era, it'll have to build software for the platforms people are actually using, namely iOS and Android. And to use a word such as survive regarding Microsoft, this big software giant, is quite telling. And Microsoft took their situation seriously and really put in place the strategy that I'm talking about and that Trevor mentioned earlier. So though the actual share of operating systems is maybe not too different now to what it was a year ago, they have a strategy and they are developing apps for devices other than Windows. So it's this mobile BI strategy that I'm talking to you about today, and specifically Power BI and DataZen. So we'll start off with Power BI. And in Julia's session, you saw some demos on Power Pivot and Power View, and I'm sure many of you will have used these products yourself. Now, that's Power BI as it was, and those products aren't going anywhere, but they're just going to be branded as Excel tools. They're not going to be Power BI. What Power BI is becoming is a standalone product, which is independent of Excel, independent of Office, and independent of SharePoint. And it'll encompass and sort of expand on the functionality from these tools, so the data modeling functionality, the visualizations, and it's now its own tool. So we've now got the Power BI Designer, where you can create reports and visualizations, and this is a desktop-based tool. And then you've got PowerBI.com, and this is where you can create your dashboards. You can create personalized dashboards, which is something that I know lots of customers have been wanting for a while. So each user can create their own personalized dashboards. And you can also connect to a range of data sources and create reports on PowerBI.com. So you can connect to both cloud sources and on-premise data sources, such as SQL Server analysis services, so data within your organization's firewalls. So it's really providing these hybrid situations that Microsoft is really heading towards. And you can also share your dashboards with colleagues and other people. So some nice features there. And importantly, Power BI is available on mobile devices. And interestingly, the first app that Microsoft developed for Power BI was, in fact, for iPads. And then secondly, they went for iPhones and only then to Windows, because they realized the majority of people using mobile devices were using iOS. But Power BI might not suit everyone. Some customers will want an on-premise mobile solution really tailored to SQL Server data. And this is where DataZen comes in. So as Andy mentioned, DataZen is a Canadian company which Microsoft acquired in April 2015, so really not very long ago. Now, Power BI allows you to create and publish really visually appealing, interactive dashboards to help you analyze your data, and is very focused on KPI analysis to really target the information that your end users want. And it comes with the DataZen publisher, where you can create content and then publish that to the DataZen server, where it's then surfaced through the apps that are available on a range of devices and also through different browsers. But rather than just talk about them, it's a lot more fun and a lot more useful to really see what they're like as an end user. Now I'm going to be joined by Pravartika again, and she'll be running through the demos, and I'll just be talking you through them. So we're going to start off by having a look at powerbi.com and then look at the mobile functionality. We won't go into the Power BI Designer. As Julia said, I've done some webcasts, so if you're really interested in how we create the reports, have a look at those or catch me afterwards for some questions. So this is powerbi.com, and this is a blank dashboard. And up here in the corner, you can see that it is still in preview mode, and they're very open about it. There's a lot more functionality to come here, and it's quite exciting early days. So on the left-hand side, you might not be able to see, I know it'll be really clear on Pravartika's screen, the different text there. But if you scroll down, you can see the different data sets there that Pravartika's already done, and this is where you've got your data connections. So you can connect to both cloud sources, on-premise data sources, whole range. And these are the connections that we've set up already. So I've got some Power BI Designer files, Excel, SQL Server analysis services, and so on. If you scroll up a bit, Pravartika, there, you've got the reports. And these are based on those data connections. So this is where you've created your visualizations and created your reports. And then right at the top, if you scroll all the way up to the top, you've got the dashboards. And this is where you've pinned visualizations from the reports to your own personalized dashboards. And this is where users can really personalize their own experience. So they can take the visualizations that are most important and create dashboards. And you can also share dashboards with your colleagues. So we're now going to have a look at a dashboard which we've already created based on the same sensor data from buildings that Julia was looking at. And we've got the same measures of temperature extremes that Julia described, where the temperature was outside of the acceptable range. So in the top left-hand corner there, we've got a map showing the extreme temperatures, which you'll recognize from Julia's demo. On the left-hand side. On the top right-hand side, you've got the average by building age and by the different system ages. In the bottom left, you've got the extreme temperatures by the exact building age. And then down at the bottom there, we've got the different temperature extremes, so the number of temperature extremes by building age category. So we've classified the buildings into old, mid-age, and new, so we can see if there's any trends there. Now, if we want to look at this in more detail, so investigate this data, we can click on the tree map, for example. And we're now taken to the Buildings Overview report, and this is where we've created the visualizations, and we've been taken straight down to this. And now we can interact with the data. So if Pravartika, for example, hovers over France in the tree map, we get a little pop-up showing the exact value that's being described here. If we now click on France, for example, the other graphs filter down to show exactly the proportion of those that are attributed to France. So this is a nice way to interact with your data and to see things from a different perspective. So you might not have thought of doing this initially yourself, and you get some insight to your data. And then if we click on it again, the filter will disappear. And this is an inherent feature of Power BI. It's nothing that we've set up or anything. It's the same functionality that's in Power View, if you're aware of that. But it's really nice and useful. If we wanted to, we could pin the visualization back to our dashboard by clicking on that little pin in the corner. Now, that was already on our dashboard, so we don't need to do that. But that's the process for moving it over. In the top left-hand corner there, you can see Edit Report. And this is where you can create your new content. So if we go to that, we're taken to the Edit pane. And on the right-hand side here, this looks very familiar to Power Pivot for those of you who used it, and we saw that in Julia's demo as well. So you move your measures across in a similar way, and you can create visualizations. And over here, you can change the different chart types and visualizations. So you can really, without having to have something on your desktop, you can change your visualizations and your reports on powerbi.com. Now, we won't go into more detail on that, and we'll now switch over to project the iPad onto the screen. So we're going to give an iPad demo to show you what it's like to use the Power BI app on an iPad. So here we are. We've now opened up the Power BI app on the iPad. And here at the bottom, you can see whether we're in dashboard view. So if Pravartika scrolls across, we've now got the whole range of dashboards available to us in the same way as we did on powerbi.com. At the bottom here, we've got the reports section, and we've got the reports like we did online. So if we were to click on the top on Buildings Overview, we've got the same report as we did online. And by clicking on any of the segments, if Pravartika does that, it filters down in exactly the same way. So you've got the same nice interactive functionality as you did online. If we go back to the dashboards now, we can have a look, and the interactivity is a bit different here. So now we've got our dashboard, and rather than now moving over to the report, if we, for example, click on the bar chart in the top right-hand corner, we're now given a slightly more detailed view of it. So you can see that little line there in the middle. If Pravartika scrolls across now with her fingers, you can see it moving. And at the top, you can see that the details up here are changing. So it gives the exact value that's being described by that graph. So that's really useful if you've got an axis which isn't very detailed and you want the exact figures that's being described. So that will appear there. Now, a nice feature of this as well is the ability to share a snapshot of this. So you might have a colleague who's in charge of buildings in Argentina. So Pravartika's noticed that, Argentina is my colleague's responsibility. There's something going on. We can share a snapshot of this. And before we send it, we can edit it down here, either by drawing or writing a comment or putting a little smiley face or something. So let's see if Pravartika highlights this somehow. Nice big arrow. Really obvious what we're looking at. And in the top right-hand corner, we've got the tick, which if we click it, will be taken to different sharing options. So we can either send it as an email or just save the image or print it. So if we now go back to the dashboard, we can see the option up here in the right-hand corner for sharing. So if we click on that, we're given the options to share. And we can do that on powerbi.com as well, as I mentioned. And next to the share icon is the add to favorites. So now if Pravartika selects some of the visualizations, so she's chosen the bar chart and the little bar chart in the corner. And if we're now happy with the visualizations that we've selected, and we select favorites down here in the bottom, we'll now see those visualizations added to our devices favorites page. So you can add visualizations from different dashboards to your devices favorites to really have a snapshot of the information that's most important to you. So that's Power BI. We're now going to switch over to having a look at the DataZen demo. And a thing to know about this is that we're not connecting to the internet over this, are we? So you can connect and view your information even in mobile black spots, so if you don't have any Wi-Fi, which is a very nice feature of DataZen. We're now seeing the KPIs pane. So we've got everything that's most important to us. And they're color-coded based on the severity, whether it's good for green, okay for yellow. And you can edit these colorings as you like. Down at the bottom here, we can see an extremes temperature KPI that we've calculated. And this is the number of extreme temperature occurrences in the current month. So this will be updated as the month changes. And we can also see the change as opposed to the previous month. So we can see that we're up 61% from last month, which is quite alarming, I would say, in terms of the buildings meeting their target temperatures. If we click on this KPI to look at this in more detail, we're taken to the activity stream. And here we can add comments. So for example, you might be a manager and you want to draw your team's attention to it. So Pravartika is now telling her team that we need to investigate this and get to grips with what's going on. And you can see here that we're given a snapshot of the data as it was when we wrote this comment. Down at the bottom, the data is different. So you get a nice context of what the comment was regarding. So if we want to now look at the dashboard, which this KPI goes to, clicked on the details, and we're drilling through to the dashboard to really work out what's going on. And this is a nice way if you've got customers who know what they're looking for and what they want to investigate. So in the top left-hand corner, you can see the month that's selected, and underneath, we've got the number of extreme temperature occurrences. Underneath, we've got a temperature gauge, and that's showing, on average, the temperature and the percentage of the target temperature this was. So on average, across all our buildings, we're 72% of target, which is pretty poor, in my opinion. There's something going on here. In the top right-hand corner, you can see the extreme temperatures by system type, by system product type. And though the blue and the teal are a bit larger, there's not a big split. And as you can see now that Pravatica's highlighted it, you can see the exact details pop up on the left. So there's probably something else going on. If you look at the incidence by continent, you can see that there is some variability here. So clearly, most incidents are happening in Asia. So some of the buildings in Asia have got some serious issues. And again, as Pravatica was moving across, you could see the details hover up. If we now click on Asia, there's another drill through that we put here to go down into a further report to get even more details. So let's see if DataZen wants to give us that report. So that doesn't seem to be working right now. But what we have there is a table describing more details on the different buildings. We've got the list of building managers that Julie had brought up, so linked together the data. And then we also had the incidences across the different months. So you can more easily see what's going on, and you can contact the managers of the buildings that are having the issues. So that was just a really quick introduction and demonstration of this. And sorry about the fact that that wasn't quite working. And thank you very much, Pravatica. We're now going to go back to the slides. I'm going to continue talking about those. Thanks. So now that we've got a bit of a feel for what these products are like, we can look at them in a bit more detail from a slightly different perspective. So thinking first about Power BI. And as I mentioned, it's currently in preview mode, and it will probably be released later on this year. So exciting times ahead. It's available as a subscription service, so software as a service. Microsoft have adopted a freemium model, so you can get the basic version totally free. And then there's a pro version for a subscription fee per user per month. It's cloud-based, but with the desktop companion of Power BI Designer and the connections available to both cloud and on-premise data. And there are currently apps for iOS and Windows devices, but I do have a suspicion that there's an Android app in the pipeline that they're cobbling together right now, just given their focus on customers and really targeting the devices they use. There's a lot of personalization, so you can create your own personal dashboards for each individual user. And you can also create your own content online, given that you've got the permissions to do that. And you've got the ability to share dashboards with colleagues, so making it really easy to collaborate. DataZen follows a more traditional license model. And at the moment, after the acquisition, Microsoft have decided to give this to SQL Server Enterprise customers with software assurance. So anyone who's got SQL Server Enterprise version 2008 or later. So there could well be many of you in the audience today who have that. And that would mean that you've got DataZen available to you right now. And even if you do have a current mobile solution, it's probably something worth looking into because there's some nice functionality and dashboard options available. It's hosted on-premise as opposed to the cloud like Power BI. And it's available on iOS, Windows, and Android devices right now. It provides a more defined dashboard experience, so really focused on the KPIs and then drilling through to the dashboards. So you don't have the dashboard creations, or the ad hoc dashboard creation like you do on Power BI, but you do have some really nice visuals, and it really helps users who want to focus their attention on certain KPIs. And as we mentioned, there's the offline capability, so you can connect to your dashboards wherever you are. So to summarize, Microsoft is definitely now a contender in the mobile BI space. With the functionality from these two products, there's some rich capability out there. And together, they currently form a two-pronged strategy to cover the range of client preferences. But we do have a suspicion that the functionality from both are going to be combined at some point. You know, who knows if there'll one day be one product, or whether just some of the functionality from one will start appearing in the other. Microsoft are on a journey with the mobile BI capabilities, so definitely a space to watch. And there are many points of integration between both of these products and the existing Microsoft BI stack and a range of different data sources. So I mentioned the capability to connect from cloud to your on-premise data. So it's really providing these type of hybrid scenarios that Microsoft is really going for. And just finally, you know, it's early days. DataZen was recently acquired and Power BI is still in preview. There's a lot more to come. And I've been following the Power BI blog online, and just a couple of days ago, they gave a preview of the final Power BI designer, and it's got a lot more functionalities and sort of visualization, customization options, and it's really looking very nice. So whenever that's released, it'll be nice to have a play around with that as well. So thank you very much, and do catch me in the coffee break or at lunch if you do have any questions.